Hey there, friends. Happy Friday Eve. I hope that you guys are doing well. I wanted to take a few minutes to hop on and just go live for a little bit. I actually just came off of a live stream. If you are on Facebook or on LinkedIn, you may have seen me talk through or seen my live about DEI and going beyond buzzwords. So I don't consider myself to be a DEI practitioner by any stretch of the imagination, but it is something that I am passionate about, and I feel like there's an attack on DEI in today's workplace and just in society in general. Whereas only 4 years ago, roughly around this time, the tide had turned because of what happened with George Floyd, and and so we talked a little bit about that, and it was a great conversation for me because I'm able to show the tie between employee engagement and culture and retention with DEI, right? When you create an environment where people feel welcome, they feel valued, they feel like they belong, they're not ostracized or they're not seen as different, right, in a negative way. When they feel like they're a part of something and they feel like they're included in the culture, you're more likely to engage these employees and retain them for the long term. So it's a very valuable conversation. If you have the time, please feel free to check it out on my Facebook page if you're watching from there, or it's on replay is on LinkedIn. Or if you want it, you can just drop a comment or send me a DM, and I'm happy to send you the link directly. And so with that, enough of the preamble. Let's go ahead and get into tonight's conversation. I would love to hear where you are watching from, or if you have any questions, please drop a comment on the platform, and I would love to be able to answer those for you. But I want to talk about feedback. I want to talk a little bit about feedback. And this came out of some conversations that I've had with both friends and family members who were recently placed on what are known as performance improvement plans, or PIPs, at their workplace because they were told they had poor performance. Now, the problem with that is these individuals had not received any feedback, meaningful feedback prior to that before getting placed on these performance improvement plans. And so it got me to thinking about, for this live and the idea behind career transitions, sometimes we may be thinking about making a move because of performance, or we're not sure how we're performing in a certain environment. And we may think, hey, we need to leave so that we can go and thrive elsewhere. And so I wanted to ask the question, are you actively asking for feedback? Because some managers, some leaders in organizations are not active, or they're not equipped to ask for feedback, to share feedback. They may not know how to have that discussion with you. And so you're continuing to just trudge along and you have no idea how you're performing. You have no idea what they think. You have no idea of their expectations. If you're meeting them, there's none of that discussion is truly happening. And then you may find yourself in a situation where you're getting placed on a performance improvement plan, or it's on the other end of the pendulum where you may think, I'm not doing well, and you're knocking it out of the park and you're overworking yourself and burning out when you don't even have to, because you're already far surpassing and exceeding their expectations. So asking for feedback is so important to make sure that if you're making a career transition, that you're making it for the right reasons. And so you may be asking, well, Julie, I'm not really sure how to broach that discussion when, with my leader around, feedback, asking for insights on my performance. We do have weekly meetings and we go through the work tasks, but we never really get to performance. So I wanted to share a couple of prompts with you as to how you can have that productive discussion about feedback. Because it doesn't have to be a negative doom and gloom kind of conversation. It doesn't have to be that. It can be a very productive, constructive conversation, especially if you ask the question early enough. If you ask the question early enough, if there is something wrong, you have time to course correct. So here are a couple of prompts. So in a situation where maybe you've just delivered a presentation and your boss went there with you, one of the ways that you can get immediate feedback is to say, hey, in the room, it seemed like the presentation went well. Would love to, and I think that I performed well, but I would love to hear your feedback. What are your thoughts on how I delivered the material? And that's an opportunity for you to get real time feedback. So, hey, you just delivered a presentation and now you're getting the feedback. Another kind of scenario where you could ask for feedback is in a situation where perhaps your boss gave you an assignment and you've now completed that assignment, and you want to get their feedback and see, okay, did I do what they asked me to do, or does it meet their expectation? So here's what I typically do. I set up time with the manager to say, hey, you asked me to do X, Y, and Z, A, B, C. I've already set up a meeting to review these deliverables with you to incorporate any feedback, changes, or improvements. While you're having that conversation in the room, you then get some perspective on what they think that you did well and where you think that they want you to improve. So it's not just about the document or the deliverable itself. It then gives you some insight as to how they think, so that when you approach any further assignment, you know already what kind of feedback they would give you. And so you can improve the quality of your work product. So you get feedback kind of real time, but then you get insights into how they think and how they view things and what they expect of you, so that you can improve all of your future deliverables as well. And then the last prompt that I will share is that, let's say you have regular check-ins with your manager or supervisor. And let's say you're going through those work lists, and you go through 1, 2, 3, 4, you've talked about all your work list items. You should then make sure that you're reserving time at the end to ask the question, hey, we've talked through all the work items, but I would like to ask for your direct feedback on my performance. I want to understand if you feel like I'm achieving the milestones that we had discussed and we've set previously. Am I meeting your expectations? And where are some areas for development? You want to ask that direct question. Now, they may not come with a bunch of notes because perhaps you're catching them off guard. So you can get some perspective, and then they can always follow up. Or if you want them to be more prepared, you can tell them ahead of the meeting, hey, or for our check-in on Friday, not only will I be bringing the status update on these 5 things, I also want to get some insights from you on my performance and any feedback that you may have. That then gives them some lead time so they can bring meaningful information and meaningful insights on your performance to the discussion. You never want that you're not getting any insights, because when it comes time for a promotion, then they have the opportunity to say, oh, well, you didn't meet this requirement, or you didn't meet this qualification, or you didn't finish this timely, et cetera, et cetera. Whereas had you been getting that feedback all along, those are things you could have been working on. So when it comes time to ask for that promotion, you can say, hey, based on our discussions over the past 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, these are the things that I've worked on. So I wanted to talk through the opportunity to get the promotion. And then on the flip side, if there is an issue with your performance, you never want to be caught off guard in a performance review or get placed on a performance improvement plan because you weren't getting the feedback all along. You want to get the insights as to, how am I doing? If things are off the rails, you want to know early enough so that you can course correct. And again, if your supervisor is not providing that feedback actively, it is on you to ask. And in addition to that, if you're not having any sort of check-ins with them, weekly, bi-weekly, monthly, it is on you to put them on the calendar. And if they keep getting moved, because I've had this with clients where they say, hey, I've put time on the calendar with my boss, and they keep moving them, then you need to stop by their desk, get on the phone with them, and have the discussion as to, hey, I've scheduled our check-in meetings and they seem like they keep getting moved. Is there a time that would work best for you so that we can have a proper cadence of check-ins? You've heard me say this before if you watched any of my lives. You are in control of your career. You are the CEO. So if you're not getting what you need, you've got to speak up and ask for it, because you don't want it to be that they force you out of the organization because you weren't getting the active feedback, or that you're overworking yourself or burning out because you weren't getting feedback. It goes either way. And so that's really the idea around feedback. It should be an ongoing conversation. It's not just a one-time thing. Get feedback after every presentation, after every project. Keep the monthly or weekly check-ins and ask for insights. the more insights that you get from your leadership, it's, the more you can incorporate into the work so that you can improve your performance. And it may not be that you just want to go to your direct supervisor. If there are other people on your team, if you're working with a project team or working with different divisions, there's nothing with informally asking, hey, I sent over, the final product for the project. Just wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Nothing wrong with getting perspective, because you want to make sure that you're getting the best feedback you can and the most robust feedback that you can to ensure that you're delivering a top-notch performance at work, and also not overworking or burning yourself out unnecessarily. And so with that, those are my thoughts in 10 and a half minutes around feedback. If you have any questions, if you're struggling with asking for feedback, or you don't know how, or you don't want to know how to start this conversation, I am here to help you. Please feel free to send me an email, hello@rockcareer.com. You can DM me on Instagram, Facebook, wherever you're watching from. And I will see you guys again tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching.